What up, Cane fans? Welcome to the show. As our head coach said on College Game Day the other day, it is cafecito time. Please, as I drink this, go hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. This is a celebratory cafecito, by the way, because you got to celebrate your victories. I'm a big believer in that, but you especially have to celebrate victories over a rival, especially when it's the Florida Gators. Miami wins 27-24, not just wins, not just dominates, but absolutely physically dismantles Florida at the line of scrimmage. Now, did the game get a little dicey at times? Yes. There was about 5 to 6 minutes there towards the end of the third quarter. Things, did get a little iffy. We didn't know if Florida might get that ball and take the lead on us. And I'll be honest with you, I got a bit nervous, but, even if they did march down the field and score, I knew I just had a feeling we were going to be okay. I'll be honest, I was a little upset in the moment that a game that we were dominating so much in the trenches that by the third quarter, we weren't already up 27-0, 35-0. And look, if you went back and watched the game, if you watched the game, whether you were there on TV, you remember the blown call or the early whistle, whatever you want to call it. Marty Brown, I want to say it was the first drive of the third quarter, first drive of the second half. He gets, I wouldn't even say stopped in the pile. He gets the first down. We're going for it on 4th and 1, 4th and 2, right? We're going for it. He gets the first down easily. And within, I would say, 2 Mississippi seconds, probably less, he's already off to the races. He's out of the pile and he's gone. They're supposed to blow the whistle when your forward momentum is stopped for long enough and they see you're not advancing. And that's not what happened here. He was churning his legs, and boom, he was out of there. That game should have been over right there. 20-0, strike up the band. This game is done. You break Florida early in the third quarter. Did not happen that way. So, when it got a little back and forth, the defenses took over the game. And finally we got that big stop we needed. Marty Brown makes the play of the game, that turnaround backhand, one-handed catch, gets the first down on that outlet pass. And really after that, that's all she wrote, because it was just, you get the little completion to Lofton, then you get the first down, and it was just run after that. So, should have been more of a blowout. Notre Dame game should have been more of a blowout. And honestly, maybe the rain had a lot to do with that, but it's okay. We're out of the non-conference schedule. We got out of it 4-0 heading into the bye week. So lots of reasons to be happy, lots of reasons to celebrate. And of course, your Miami Hurricanes are now ranked number 2 in the country. But I will get to your comments. I'll get to the, some of the positives and negatives, things I saw from the game, things I think that do need to be cleaned up, and my other thoughts of what I saw around college football last weekend. But before we do that, of course, like I said before, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and of course, I always shout them out here, but please, when you have a chance, go check out aboutthefans.com for all your merch needs. Here we go. Go to their website. You see, you can even download this nice little 2025 phone wallpaper schedule for the background of your phone. You got the t-shirt collection. You got hats. You got stickers. You got the Miami Float collection here. You got the Miami-Kane County collection. You got the Hoodie Girl collection. All your merch needs right here. Even some Marlins stuff if you're a Marlins fan. Whatever you like, they probably have it. So please, when you have a chance, go check out aboutthefans.com for your merch needs. Now, Mateer, I heard something about Mateer. Yeah, that does suck. But I will, we'll get to the rest of college football, but I do want to, dive a little bit into this game really quick. Yes, sir. Been looking forward to hearing what you have to say about the Florida win. Go Canes. Yeah, tough, grinding win. You know what I love the most about it? Now that I'm removed from it, kind of, the emotions kind of taken away. That initial emotion can kind of cloud your judgment. I'll give you an example. And just keep in mind when you're on X and looking at comments and you're on Instagram, just keep in mind before you start fighting with people in the comments, just know that people's memories are flawed, and what you saw might not be what they saw. That's why I like to go back and watch the tape. I get back to the car because I went with my brother, my sister-in-law, some of their friends of their friends, and one of the friends of their friends mentioned Marty Brown, who I thought was the MVP of the game. He was like, bro, that guy Brown, that running back, bro, get him out of here. He can't run. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, no, Fletcher's a way better runner. No, I don't know why he was in the game. I'm like, oh my God, these are the people. This is why I don't go on social media anymore. Like, you gotta be patient with people. But anyway, that's why I like to go back and look at the tape once or twice. But yeah, first and foremost, Marty Brown. I mean, both running backs, Fletcher was awesome, but Marty Brown I thought was the player of the game, in my opinion. And keep in mind, he's the third guy in the depth chart. We haven't even seen the guy who might be the best running back on this team, and that's Jordan Lyle. Hopefully this bye week, this extra rest will help him really get as close to 100% as he can for the Florida State game, because I think we'll need him. But yeah, what I loved about this game, looking back at it, could have been more of a blowout, should have been. Some miscues on the field, a horrific call by the refs that took a touchdown away. But the fact that we finished that game so strong and so emphatically, and I thought the score 26-7 more closely resembled what it really was on the field, which was, like I said, a complete, just absolute beatdown. So I like that our team, and this is the mark of any great team, that say your quarterback is a little off that day, say your offense or your passing game is a little out of rhythm, things just aren't clicking. All right, we can ground and pound you for 4 quarters and grind out a victory. Yeah, Florida sucks, but they got a really solid defense. I have to give them credit. Their DBs had our receivers locked down all night. Our receivers were not getting open with any kind of consistency. And when they did, again, I attribute a lot of it to the rain. Carson Beck is not a good wet ball thrower. There are examples of this. You can go back and look at his tape at Georgia, that he's been in some rainy games, and he just doesn't operate well in inclement weather. Most quarterbacks don't, to be fair. The Ben Roethlisbergers and Tom Brady's of the world are very, very rare. Most quarterbacks, it really affects their throwing. It really affected DJ Lagway. I mean, he was missing guys by like 10 yards. I know he's not that good to begin with throwing the ball, but I think that plus the pressure really affected him. And for those that watched it on TV, I think you guys don't realize, the ones in the chat that maybe were at the game can attest to this. Dude, it was raining. Like 95% of the game, it was coming down. For whatever reason, you couldn't really see it, on the, if you're watching on HD or 4K, whatever, for some reason, like you couldn't really see it that well, because I was watching the tape on YouTube, right? And I'm like, man, it was coming down way harder than you see here on camera. So I was telling my friends who are Canes fans that Florida's defense is legit, especially in the secondary, 100%. They absolutely were legit. Andy Raphael's saying a 27-13 win over FSU. All right. I would love to, whether it's by a point or by 50 points or by 10 points, I do not care. In that rivalry, a win is a win, especially going up to Tallahassee. But I like your prediction. So yeah. Brandon, I was going to get to Beck, so I might as well answer this question. Brandon, Jonathan Mears, Beck been a little shaky with his footwork in the pocket, especially with all the time he usually has in the pocket. I don't see him shaky, really. I mean, there were moments where Florida brought a little bit more pressure. I know on the interception, they brought in a blitz. The guy got through. He was able to step up in the pocket and kind of avoid it for a second, stepped into his throw kind of, mid-stride, threw an accurate ball really to CJ Daniels, but I mean, I thought it was the right read. I don't know how much differently he could have thrown the ball other than putting maybe a little more zip on it. But again, I don't think there was much he could have done other than maybe take the check down. To his left, Mark Fletcher was wide open, and he would have had a bunch of yak. But that was a great play by Cormani McClain undercutting that ball. He timed it perfectly. He baited Carson Beck perfectly. And I kind of knew going in, Carson Beck isn't great under pressure. He isn't great under inclement weather. But when he has protection and he has the help, yeah, he's smart. He reads protections well, and he'll find the open guy. He'll dice you up. And he's not afraid to take the check down, which I think makes him very effective in this year's offense, because the check down is going to be one of Mark Fletcher, Shamar Brown, Jordan Lyle, Elijah Lofton, Malachi Toney, even on some downs. You got dangerous check down guys to just dump it off to. So, but that said, the only times I've seen him maybe rush his decision or his footwork was a little off. I did notice that on some of those quick plays where he's just like, kind of sidearming and slinging it to a running back or something, or maybe throwing one of those horizontal passes. Yeah, it was a little bit off. But again, I'd like to see him actually be able to throw in dry weather for once. So Beck, I'll tell you right now, is very low on my list of concerns, because there's this, I'll get into it now. There's this narrative online on national shows that maybe something's wrong with his arm, something's wrong with his elbow. He was seen rubbing it. I think he might have hit it on a helmet or something, but nothing. Yeah, he was kind of rubbing it. Maybe he had some discomfort. Yeah, it's football. It's a physical game. I don't think, honestly, there's anything there. People were talking about the velocity on his throws. Again, go back and watch tape of him throwing in the rain before. It's like it does affect him. I don't think that was an arm issue, really. I just think, that was more of a weather and mechanics issue. The good thing is he has a week off now to work on the mechanics and clean that stuff up. So I look forward to seeing a refreshed, rested, and a bit retooled Carson Beck heading into Tallahassee, because that's going to be fun. He's seen all the great atmospheres in the SEC. He's heard some of the loudest crowds. Now he's going to head into, kind of different territory in Tallahassee. That crowd at night is going to be raucous. It's going to be, they're going to be insane. Talk about us being an asylum, like Coach Cristobal said. I mean, it's going to be, it might be even louder there, just because they haven't had a Miami, Florida State top 5 matchup in how long? I mean, when was the last time that happened? 2003, that rain game, that Sean Taylor game. I think that's the last time I can remember. So yeah, that stadium is going to be rocking. So it's going to be interesting to see how Carson navigates that, but it's nothing he hasn't seen. So I'm not too worried about him, to be quite honest with you. I saw, even if I'm not saying he did, because honestly, I've asked around. They haven't heard the people I asked haven't heard anything. I haven't heard anything from anybody else. So like, I don't think there's anything there, to be quite honest with you. But I think, yeah, he just has a few things he needs to clean up. He had a bad game. It happens. Carson Beck, look throughout his career, he does have occasional clunkers like this, where he has a bad half or a bad game or whatever. He tends to bounce back, though. All right? He's a smart dude. And I think he's going to navigate it and be just fine. Honestly, I don't think that narrative they're pushing about his arm, I really don't think there's anything there. He went 3 for 3 on that final drive where we had that game-clinching touchdown. So, and he finished the game. So if there was anything serious there, he probably would have come out of the game. He wouldn't have been throwing the ball on that game-clinching drive. So I'm not concerned. Not concerned at all. Cormani made a hell of a play on that throw. Huge instincts. Yes, he did. Great feel for that play, actually. And CJ Daniels, really, he could have come back for that ball to help out his quarterback a little bit. He'll probably tell you that himself. Let's see. I'm not worried about Beck at all. Yeah, me neither. So, real quick, my rundown of the game. Defense, I think the D line is the best in college football. I think they're absolutely unblockable. Not only do you have a great unit of 4 guys, really 6 or 7 guys, because you rotate in Blunt, you rotate in Lightfoot. And we didn't see much of him in this game, but Justin Scott is another one. He's right now the 3rd D tackle, but I think he had like 9 or 10 snaps. And then, of course, you have Malik Bryant. I don't think he came in at all in this game, but, you got him in your back pocket. So you got a good 7 guys that you can lean on, I think. I did notice Bain and Mezzi, really, they both played a high percentage of the snaps. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more rotation, but then I thought about it. Florida didn't have that many offensive snaps to begin with. I think they only had like 40-something snaps for the entire game. So that's the equivalent of being able to rotate somebody in and out a lot and keep them fresh. So the fact that they had so many 3-and-outs or forced so many 3-and-outs for the Gators, they were able to go back to the bench for a breather much quicker. And they were able to stay fresh throughout the game. So that's one way to do it. If you're not going to rotate as much, which I've noticed in these bigger games, Mario likes to stick with those top guys, the guys that he trusts if he can. He'll try to stretch them a little bit. But the fact that they're making stops and getting off the field so quickly and efficiently means they end up not playing that many snaps. So that's more rest, less mileage for them over the course of the season. I just finished watching the 2023 game against BC. Man, we had a lot of freshmen playing against Castellanos. Yeah, I got to go back and watch that. That's a good idea. Bama, look at that. Yeah, Bama didn't have the best game. Yeah, so D-line's elite, unblockable. 7 guys that you can really trust. And the top 4, Bain, Mezzi, Blay, and Moten, they aren't just good together as a unit. They're not just like complementary to each other. They are, all 4 of them are difference makers. I very few D-lines in the country, if any, can say that. All 4 of them are impact players, are difference makers. And Ruben Bain might be the best player in the country. He's getting Heisman, maybe not Heisman consideration. I think it's too early in the season to say that, but he's getting Heisman chatter, I should say. But the defense is really swarming. When there was a play towards the end of the game when Muhammad Toure, who had an amazing game, was running towards the flats he read the play well. He got there in time, but he kind of overran it a little bit. Got a hand on the dude to slow him down, but missed the tackle. Immediately, there's 7 orange jerseys around to make the play. And the guy, after the broken tackle by Toure, only got like 2 or 3 additional yards and forced a 3rd down. That's the difference between all our other teams in the past, and really between us and most teams in college football today, that if they don't swarm, that guy breaks that tackle and gets a 1st down. So swarming, it's a culture thing. That is a sign of great culture. And, it forces teams into 3rd down. Even if you force a team into a 3rd and 1, they still have to get out there and go get that yard, which against our front 7 is not easy. It creates extra opportunities for the defense. So that cannot be understated. Let's see what else. Jacoby Thomas had a hell of a game. Wes, Lightfoot was beating double teams off the edge. There were packages where Bain and Mezzi were on one side. Like they were heavy on one side with 3 guys, and Lightfoot's like by himself on the other side. Just straight NASCAR package. And he'll like rip through the hands of one dude, spin move, and get through the second blocker and create great pressure. It's really fun to see him play. And he comes off the bench. That's the best part. I can't wait till next year or the year after it's Lightfoot and Hayden Lowe. That's going to be really fun to watch. But not much more to say about the defense. He forced the Gators to 0 of 13 on 3rd down. that's elite stuff right there. I mean, that's why even when they had the pick, even when, they had a chance to drive and score, it's like, were you a little nervous? A little bit? Yeah, a little bit. But I don't know. I felt pretty confident we were going to get the stop, and we were like one drive away from breaking the game open and just icing it. And that's finally what happened. With about 4 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, we drained the clock down. That's another thing I love that we did. While, again, when it's raining like that, it really limits your playbook and your play calling. That's why a couple days removed from it now, I'm like, I can't be too mad at the play calling. I'm honestly not. It was more the lack of execution, the open guys that were missed by Beck, the ball by CJ that was dropped. That was a big drop at the time. The snap infractions, obviously, the false starts, all the pre-snap stuff that needs to be cleaned up. But if you cut the penalties in half and maybe you hit CJ on that ball, it's a different game. If you don't have that early whistle on Marty Brown's run, the game's over there. So there was a lot of what ifs, some outside of our control, some in our control, but most of it was in our control. And I'm talking to players on the field. I can't point to the play calling and be like, man, that's why things went wrong. I don't agree. I think execution at times on offense was poor. Great execution kind of masks vanilla play calling, or it makes vanilla play calling look effective, which it would have been if we had executed better. You turn a 2nd and 1 into a 2nd and 6, or a 3rd and 3 into a 3rd and 8, it changes a drive and it kills a drive. So I can't get on the coaches too much. This was kind of like the FSU game last year where Mario knew, look, we're the better team. We're just gonna chip away at them, chip away, and you look up before you know it, you have a 3-touchdown lead and it's the fourth quarter. It has similar feel. Obviously, this Florida team's better than last year's FSU team, but it was like, I know his attitude was probably, look, I know we're the better team. We're going to break them in the trenches eventually. We're going to start gashing them for big runs late. Why risk anything? And really, it's hard to argue with that. I wouldn't say elite, but they're good and physical. Are you talking about our guys or are you talking about Florida? I know I was talking about their defense. So, yes, smash that like button. Thank you, sir. I love the gang tackling, swarming to the ball. Yeah, it makes all the difference, man. Lightfoot, what's up with Mateer? You know what? I was hearing some stuff on Mateer. Let's see what's going on with him. Just do a quick little Google. I know he got hurt. Yeah, Oklahoma QB out indefinitely. Needs surgery on his throwing hand. Damn. OU's Mateer breaks hand out a month, according to ESPN. Yeah, and hate to break it to you, that's probably going to be a little longer than a month. Yeah, that sucks, man. Do I like Oklahoma? No, I don't. But I honestly, I feel for any team and I feel for any fan base that something goes wrong with your quarterback, especially after not just the monetary investment, but like so much. Even if you have a great team, if you have any championship hopes or playoff hopes like we do, so much rides on that position. I mean, I wish it wasn't like that. I mean, could we grind out some victories if God forbid something happened to our guy? Yeah, you could, but it's not going to be, you're not going to have the same aspirations postseason wise. You know what I'm saying? I think most teams would agree with that. If you're a great team, but also have an elite quarterback, you lose, that quarterback goes down, it changes everything. So, that sucks for Mateer. I hope he heals up quick. But if it's a broken bone, that's probably going to be longer than a month because then you got to get the strength back. You got to rehab. Depends how bad the break is also. I'm not a doctor. After 4 weeks of playing, are we recalibrating our preseason expectations for this team? I am. I had high expectations for the team. But if you ask me, hey, is this a playoff team? I was like, let's get through the first few games and then I'll let you know. We're through 4 games and I can tell you for sure I believe this is a playoff team. Anything short of the playoffs to me would be a letdown. It would be a failure. because this roster is a playoff roster. This defense is a national championship defense. I'm telling you right now. Have we been tested against a more tricky, gimmicky offense like Florida State, for example? Not yet, but if I can make a call based on what I've seen so far, based on kind of a small sample size, they have just absolutely shut teams down and just demoralized them. I mean, I'm watching the USF game. I'm watching the Notre Dame game. Especially the USF game, I'm like, by the time it was like 21-6, 20-6, you knew it was over because it's like, you can give them a million tries. They're not going to score 3 more times in this game. You know, same feeling with the Florida game. You know, aside from 5 minutes of that game, I never thought when we were up 13-0, I'm like, yeah, they called back Marty Brown's touchdown, but we'll be okay. We'll score that touchdown eventually. They're not going to get close. That's kind of how most people felt watching the game. So I have high expectations. I've recalibrated a bit to say, yeah, they absolutely should make the playoffs. And I will say this. I thought, okay, they got to at least get to Charlotte because I'm going into the season thinking Clemson's the best team in the conference. We'll get to them in a little bit. But I thought, okay, Clemson's the best team in the conference. We got a couple other teams that are no joke. But really, it's between Miami and Clemson. So I'm thinking, okay, at least get to Charlotte. If you don't win in Charlotte, fine, whatever. It'll be a hard-fought, close battle against Clemson, but at least get there. Now I'm thinking nobody in the ACC can beat us but us. If we just play our game, don't shoot ourselves in the foot, play clean football, and just take it one game at a time, yeah, we go 8-0 in the conference, especially once we get through the FSU game. If we can beat them, sky's the limit after that. You can go to the ACC championship game now expecting to win the ACC championship. So my expectations with that have recalibrated a bit for sure. John, our secondary, how do you feel about OJ Frederick, Keontae Scott? Everybody's playing well in the secondary. I don't have a bad thing to say. Xavier Lucas, they're not even throwing his way, man. He even gets involved in the running game sometimes, stopping the run when they go outside. Keontae Scott gets involved. Poiser gets involved. All the DBs come downhill and make plays. I love that. The only thing is, yeah, OJ's gotten beat on a couple of plays this year, but every great cover corner gets beat from time to time. And that dude from USF, that's our track guy. Like he's very few corners are going to be able to cover that dude. Mario nailed the Heatherman hire. This defense is night and day from a season ago. 100% night and day from a season ago. I absolutely agree. They play violently. They play fast. They play confident. They play free, which is what I wanted. And that's how this group should be. They should be mentally just not encumbered by trying to remember too many keys and too many things like that. Just put them in a scheme where they can play a little bit more on instincts and less having to do all the pre-snap calculations and all that stuff. Now, there are some things they gotta. I'm not saying there's no playbook or anything, but it's simple enough to learn quickly. And as long as you're communicating, which he also stresses, then you'll be fine. But let me get to some of the negatives before I forget. Oh, well, touch on the offense really quick because I was just talking about the defense. Just like I said, this is the best D-line in the country. I would say this is also the best O-line in the country. We're at least top 3 in that regard. I mean, no, I take it back. Top O-line in the country because honestly, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find an O-line that's better right now. And they're massive. I mean, it's insane the size we have there. The tight ends, on the blocking, they still need some work. The receivers, though, they block very well. Malachi's really, even in a game where the passing game really wasn't clicking too much, even Malachi was still making plays. That's how you know he's going to be a reliable guy for the next 3 years, so enjoy him. Elijah Lofton, it was great to see him actually make a few nice plays, get you some yak, get you a couple of big first downs. That hurdle was beautiful. And they interviewed Mario after the game. Don Bailey Jr. did on the radio, and he asked him about Elijah Lofton. It's good to see him back in the fold. And Mario just, you could hear the relief in his voice when he's like, man, he's just now starting to get healthy. And you all, the fans and everybody, are going to see how great of a player he is. And I think we just got a taste of it, honestly, because believe me, I had been to multiple practices where I saw him do his thing, saw him run the ball as a running back, saw him catch passes as a tight end. Yeah, Elijah Lofton's the real deal. And hopefully this extra week off can help him heal up even quicker, whatever's nagging him, and he can make a legitimate impact because, like we discussed earlier, Alex Bauman's been struggling. All right. Elijah Lofton kind of got healthy right at the right time. Excuse me, folks, while I plug in the computer. And there we go. Yeah, it was about to die. That would have been bad. So let's see. Anything else? I covered Marty Brown as the MVP. That's pretty much it. Running game was elite. That, you know, the way they always are. They will just break your will with this running game. And again, this was a game where your quarterback was off, passing game was off, and you still grinded out a 3-touchdown win against a rival. It doesn't get much better than that. Now, negatives, the snap infractions. That was really pissing me off. And it sucks because Brockermeyer's a really good center. If you watch him blocking, also his veteran presence, his experience at center is extremely important. Anybody that's ever played will let you know, yeah, they make sure everybody's lined up. They communicate with the quarterback. It's an important role. They do a lot more than just snap the ball. Problem is, snapping the ball is like your most important function, though. And if you're messing that up, that's not good. So I really hope they clean that up. Beck, we already covered him. I'm not going to beat that dead horse. Like I said, I didn't have too big of an issue with the play calling. Just, you know, clean up the on-field stuff, the stuff that the players have control of, and I think we're good. Yes, covered the rain, the Carson Beck stuff. So I mentioned Clemson earlier. We'll talk a little bit about what's going on in the ACC and around the country, but Clemson, I mean, if you told me Clemson's going to start 1-3, I would have been like, you're out of your mind. But here we are. We're heading into week 5. Clemson is 1-3, and their one win against Troy really was not impressive. They looked terrible in that game. They had to pull one out of their ass towards the end. Clemson, to me, it's the same guy. Dabo Swinney's been there since, 2008? And all of a sudden, they're just absolutely in free fall right now. And it's not the roster. They got tons of talent. What's happening here is, I think, the same thing that happened in Miami in the mid-2000s. 2025 Clemson, to me right now, is 2006 Miami. And I'll explain to you what I mean. Back in 2006, I'll rewind to the end of 2005. We go up, beat Virginia Tech in their house in Blacksburg. That's when they had Marcus Vick. They're ranked number 3. They're undefeated. We come in with one loss, but we're ranked like number 5 or number 6. We go up there and completely destroy them. Similar to this game, actually. Very, I think that we won that game 27-7. So similar score and everything. Defense just completely shut them down. And we looked like, oh my God, Miami's back. They're one of the best teams in the country again. They're a legit title contender. Then we lay an egg against Georgia Tech at the end of the season. Finish 9-2. Head to the Peach Bowl and just get absolutely embarrassed by LSU 40-3. But then you have that squad, right? A bunch of NFL guys. Greg Olsen, Tyrone Moss, although he got hurt that year, RIP. Eric Winston. Who else do we have? John Beeson, Brandon Merriweather, Kenny Phillips, Calais Campbell, Kareem Brown, all these dudes, right? Heading into 06, I think we were top 10, and a lot of high hopes. People still had high hopes for the team. And just like people had for this Clemson team, people probably were picking us to win the ACC that year. I believe they were. And we end up going 7-6 that year. Same reasons that I think Clemson's failing. Larry Coker didn't want to really get with the times. Neither did the rest of neither did the school, really. They didn't want to hire an OC that called more of a spread type of offense. They wanted to stick to what they've always done. Clemson, they don't want to get with the times in the sense that they don't want to use the transfer portal. They're not big on NIL, none of that stuff. So Dabo, he's losing right now because for the last couple of years, he's been stubborn. Miami ran into problems in the mid-2000s and on because they were stubborn. Also because they didn't want to spend money, but they were stubborn, set in their ways, just like Dabo is. And the season's kind of unfolding in a very similar way. Crazy thing about it all, we haven't even reached our full. Yeah, no, I'll get to that now. But yeah, I just thought that the Clemson season is going eerily similar to how Miami's 06 season went. And it's kind of for the same reasons. It's complacency. It's resting on your laurels. It's thinking, oh, we could just do things the way we've always done them and we'll be fine. 06, the same year as the FIU brawl. Yep, that season. And Brian Pata. Yeah, it was a rough year for many reasons. But yeah. And also, like, Kyle Wright at the time, we're thinking, all right, he's heading into year 3 now. This is his year to, like, really break out and show out. Cade Klubnik, similar thing. 5-star recruit heading into his 3rd year as a starter. You know, took a step last year. We're like, oh, he's going to be a Heisman contender. He's going to be the number 1 quarterback in the draft, blah, blah, blah. Eerily similar. But anyway, back to the Canes because you guys have some more comments for me here. Yeah, crazy thing is we haven't reached our full potential yet. Mario said our ceiling is limitless. I agree with that 100%. The closest thing we've played to a complete 4-quarter game was USF. And even in that game, we had some miscues. I mean, no game is perfect, obviously. But the closest thing to a complete game we played was USF. And it was just a complete, just utter ass kicking from top to bottom. The way it should have been. I mean, there was a big spread on that game. It was 17.5, and Miami covered with ease. So, and now I think we're heading into the FS. Correct me if I'm wrong. You guys can tell me in the comments. I think the spread is like 6.5, 7.5, something like that, with Miami favored, which is something because to be a touchdown favorite in a rivalry game on the road, that means Vegas thinks we're about 10 points better because they always give the home field advantage 3 points, roughly. So that means Vegas is like, yeah, FSU's good, but I don't know how much we believe in them. We think Miami's really good. So, and they tend to know what they're doing. So that's good to see. Hopefully we live up to it. Hopefully that game's not even close and we just go up there and beat them down. There is a limit, Mario tripping. This team lacks speed on offense and it will have its struggles this year. Bagging up, I feel like we played the 2 toughest secondaries on our schedule already. Do you really think we're going to have our struggles? Because the wide receivers played well against Notre Dame, and that's like an NFL secondary. I don't know. Yes, we do lack that top end speed that you would want. And that's why he's going after the Josh Moores of the world. So, that speed's coming. I have no doubt about that. That's why you got a Gerard Pringle in your backfield. He's trying to get that elite speed. I think he understands that. But you got to build from the trenches out, which we've already done. FSU will feel the same way. Watch. What if it's dry? That's why I'm saying let's wait and see what happens here. Let's wait and see what happens with FSU. Is FSU secondary better than Florida? Honestly, I don't think so. I think FSU overall is a better team, but specifically in the secondary and pass defense, I don't know. I mean, every game, things change game to game. Every game is different. So, we'll see. If Beck has time to throw, I'm not that concerned. And remember, we can lean on our run game. If we lean on our run game long enough and we start to break them a little bit, passing lanes open. So it won't rain in Tallahassee. I mean, I hope not. It's still Florida. They get a lot of rain too, so hopefully not. It's better than many give them credit for. They're physical. I mean, I agree they're physical. They're talented. I'm not saying they suck. But say we get through the FSU game, then what do you think after that? I don't see a secondary that scares me after that. And I think as Josh Moore gets more involved in the offense and as Elijah Lofton gets more involved in the offense, I mean, I think we have enough weapons to at least get through that schedule. You get to the playoffs, yeah, you're facing more elite secondaries. That's a different story. I'm just talking about our schedule right now. I don't know. There's nothing there after FSU, especially. There's really nothing there that scares me. I think Carson will also get to more of a rhythm with this offense, get more acclimated, more, as they go expanding the playbook, kind of like how they did against USF. I think, I don't know. It's not something I am too nervous about. Pitt schemes us, cues, close the door on our pass concepts when they needed to. I mean, we dropped a lot of points on Syracuse, though. That wasn't the problem. But I will, Pitt does a great job of scheming us, but we haven't played Pitt in a long time. The last time we played Pitt, we were bad. Let's remember that. So we play FSU 7:30. John, remember we used to play FSU at noon. That was fun on ABC back in the days with Keith Jackson. Oh, yeah. Of course I remember that. I went to some of those. Are you kidding me? Yeah, that was always a high noon game. But primetime games are always played primetime nowadays. Really, the only rivalry that traditionally still plays at noon, there's two of them. The Red River Shootout is always at noon, and Ohio State, Michigan's always at noon. The lack of team speed and explosiveness is concerning. I mean, we can win like this, but this type of play is 50-50, especially against good teams. This isn't a shock. We knew this going into the season. That, if there's anything we lack, it's the explosiveness on the outside. But like I said, the receivers, and this is without JoJo, the receivers I think have played pretty solid. Like better than we expected. I mean, I don't know. I just don't see, after FSU, I just don't see a defense that's going to give our passing game a lot of problems. If we have problems, again, it would be us shooting ourselves in the foot, in my opinion. Now, is it concerning when you get to the playoffs? Yeah, you want that top end speed. You want first rounders on the outside because that helps. But you know what also helps? Playing defense, which we have. Stopping the run, we have that. An elite offensive line that can move the ball down anyone's throat, we have that. That's the great equalizer. All right, so I'm not too worried. I mean, you have a point, but that's, like you said, against good teams, like really, really good teams. We'll be tested in that regard. But I don't know, man. I think week one we played, one of the better secondaries in the country, one of the better defenses in the country, in my opinion, and very, very well coached, and we beat them. All right. Like I said, I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling good. Not too concerned. I do believe this is a playoff team. Some people are saying, oh, this is a national championship team. I'm not ready to say that just yet. But, man, you're going to win the overwhelming majority of your games if you're that dominant in the trenches. The overwhelming majority of your games. And, yes, even against good teams. I don't see it as 50-50. We don't scare anyone on teams will have us man up when we don't have the speed. We have 15 play drives to score. You are more prone to making mistakes, constantly drive down the field slowly. I do agree. There's less margin for error because it's more plays. But you got to look at it on, there's two sides to that. Yes, less margin for error, but if you have their defense on the field for 15 plays, you wear them down. Guess what's going to happen in the second half? You create mismatches. I don't want to see some more downfield passes to. I do want to see some more downfield passes to say we are a championship team. I agree with you. Look, this is the national media overreacting. That they always do this. And it's the same guys that said 4 weeks ago, Danny Cannell, for example, saying we weren't even going to make a bowl game. And now 4 weeks later, we're the best team in the country. Like, I take it with a massive grain of salt, all of it. I'm just saying we're a playoff team. And we need to take care of business every single week. Take it one game at a time. If we take it one game at a time and we stay healthy, I think we're in the playoffs, my opinion. And I don't think I'm going out on any limbs saying that. Lofton is a mismatch. I would love to see Dawson get him involved. Oh, that's the other thing. Lofton was banged up. He's getting unbanged up now. He's getting healthier. Lofton is a massive part of this offense. I don't think people realize that. He is a massive, massive part of this offense. Very important. So he's going to be used a lot as he goes getting healthy, and it's going to create some mismatches, like Thomas says. Let's see. No, Siri, I wasn't talking to you. To pass downfield, you have to have the guys that separate and get away from coverage. I know. We will be mesh crosses and short passes most of the year, run, run, run. Hey, that, again, will win most games. But I knew that going into the season. We knew this, guys. We knew that we don't have those elite top-flight guys on the outside. I think by next year we will. Hopefully Josh Moore develops into that guy. We'll see what happens with JoJo. But even if he's not, if he's not a factor, you go to the portal and get somebody. Let's see. Let me scroll through and see if I missed anything. Damn, that's a huge blow. Yeah, talking about Mateer earlier. That is a huge blow. Hey, John, the ref sucks. No holding calls. Gators holding all night. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. We got away with a couple as well, but the Gators were getting away with way more. And they were getting away with more because they were like desperation grabs when Bain and Mesidor were winning one-on-one battles left and right. There were quite a bit of holds that didn't get called. Mesidor almost got a safety at one point. He got grabbed around the waist, it looked like bear hugged almost. They didn't call it. That one, I was mad when they didn't call that. John, I know it's early, but I'm sure it will be discussed. Does anything worry you about FSU? I mean, yeah, Gus Malzahn and that offense, all that window dressing, all that motion, it's very tricky, and it's given us problems before, albeit we had a much different defense. But it's going to be a challenge. If we can force Castellanos to kind of stay in the pocket, not let him get outside where he's at his best, and we can slow down or stop that run, which I feel comfortable saying because Notre Dame was coming in and everybody was saying, oh, there's no way you're going to stop Jeremiah Love. You can only slow them down. No, we stopped them. We absolutely stopped them. And this kid from Florida, but he had like 30-something, 40-something yards, Jaden Baugh. He had the one nice touchdown run. That was nifty. But I feel like we shut down that running game too. So it's possible that we shut down FSU's running game. I don't know. But if you stop the run, force Castellanos to throw from the pocket, which is what you should do with any scrambling quarterback like him, especially one that lacks size, make him throw from behind the line of scrimmage. It'll create some opportunities on defense. It is a little concerning, though. Like, don't get me wrong, especially going to their house. You don't want to allow a couple of big plays early and all of a sudden find yourself in a hole. So that would be the only thing concerning me. I think we are capable of running on their defense. They're solid and they're physical. and it's going to be a bloody war in the trenches. But I think we will have the upper hand and eventually lean on them long enough and win that battle in the end. Can Lyle and JoJo redshirt this year? Lyle can. I don't know if JoJo used his red shirt already. I don't know off the top of my head. I think technically JoJo used it last year, if I'm not mistaken. Lyle, yeah, he could. But why? Remember, your goal is to play 16 games this season. That's a lot of games, okay? The running backs get worn down a lot, especially in this offense. So it would be nice to have an extra fresh guy like Jordan Lyle that you can count on, especially a guy that's an impact running back like Jordan Lyle. Zach Poyser, how are we feeling about his play? He's improved a ton. I like his play. Great athlete and uses that to his advantage. It's amazing back in 2021 when we lost to Bama, how Bama was so big, looked like an NFL team, and we looked small, frail, like a small, frail team with Manny Diaz. Years later, we look big like an NFL team with Mario, we have size. Yeah. Whenever you're thinking about the concerns of this team, and it's not a perfect team. I'm with you guys on that. Just have a little perspective. Look back 4 years ago, what it looked like. And look what it was, and look what it is today. And Chris, not just the lack of size, but in addition to that, the lack of toughness. Because you had a couple of big guys on that O-line. They weren't all tiny, but they were just, I hate to say it, a little softer than this O-line that we have now. They're not built the same, both physically and mentally. Let's see if I missed anything here. Dabo don't believe in the transfer portal. Yep. Let's see if there's some new comments here. Bain and Mezzi snapping Tommy C in half. We ain't one of the high school teams they've been facing. Yeah, I wonder if they're going to come out a little slow against Virginia. That could happen because they haven't played a team with a pulse in a long time. That Alabama game feels like so long ago. They had East Texas A&M, I believe, was their second game that they were up by like 70 after the first quarter. They had a bye week after that, and then Kent State that they were up like 1 million at halftime. That's almost like you have 3 straight bye weeks. Like those are barely opponents. There is something to say about being a little bit battle tested, and that we are. We're more battle tested than they are. But we haven't played on the road yet. So let's see how we handle that. The scheme should worry us on Malzahn can slow down team speed and stagnant defenders with misdirection motions and all that speed on that O. Notre Dame didn't have as much speed. Yeah, you can argue that. Notre Dame's running backs have speed. But I guess you could argue that. FSU just lacks a little bit of depth. But yeah, they are, like I said, they are a tricky offense to try to stop. But again, that's where swarming to the ball is going to be extremely important. And communication. Communication is really going to be tested in this game because of the, of the atmosphere and all that stuff. It's going to be tough. Did you see Inez Cooper ragging on subs for flip? Yes, I did. I did see that. Wide receiver has a wide receiver running a 10-2. Yeah, they're fast. No, they got athletes. Bama played soft AF in that game. Couldn't believe what I watched. They did. But anyways, guys, I've been on for an hour. I actually was just going to be on for like 35, 40 minutes, but ended up staying on here for 55. But I appreciate you all coming on. 91 in the chat. Thank you so much for being on and chopping it up with me, talking some Canes, continuing the celebration and enjoying this victory. I know we talked a little bit of some Florida State, but we're going to have plenty of time to talk Florida State. Remember, they have a game Friday night against Virginia, against an actual real team that's going to give them some resistance. And that's only a single digit point spread, by the way. So, it'll be interesting to see how they handle that after so many weeks of really any resistance at all on the field. It'll be interesting to see how they come out to start the game. But Casey, I do watch the cinematic recaps. They're fantastic. They're absolutely fantastic. The Florida Panthers do similar ones after every playoff win and every Stanley Cup final win. They do a cinematic recap. And it must be the same guys producing it because, like, the music is similar. The production is, like, almost exactly the same. They're really fun to watch. Yeah, it's a tough game Friday night on the road before they play us. I agree. That has trap game written all over it, to be quite honest with you, because they're looking ahead to us. They're getting lulled into a false sense of security against really easy opponents. They're not really getting tested at all. It's going to be interesting. But anyways, I'm going to hop off. Thank you guys again. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and as always, go Canes.